Apparently, above all else, this is the move the Red Sox need to make. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. Don't forget, we are still raising money for the Movember Foundation, a foundation dedicated to men's mental and physical health services and awareness. About a third of our way towards our goal, and once we hit that goal, one person who donates is going to win opening day tickets. So make sure you guys are taking advantage of this opportunity and donating using the link down below in the description. But anyways, every offseason, there are multiple ways the Red Sox could improve this team. I'm talking free agent market, I'm talking the trade market, I'm also talking about developing players within the Red Sox system. I mean, we talked about Christian Campbell yesterday. That is a prime example of that. But every year, everyone tries to figure out exactly what the best move for this Red Sox team should be. And specifically, every year, ESPN's Jeff Passan tries to do this for every single team in the league. And this year, he put out his article has the perfect move for every big league team. And for the Red Sox, it's a move that I think we're all pretty familiar with. It is the idea of the Red Sox trading for Joe Ryan. So that's exactly what we're going to break down in this video. We're going to talk about Jeff's reasoning. We're going to talk about why it's the perfect move, why it might not be the perfect move, and ultimately if it's something that could happen for the Boston Red Sox. But first, we have to start with Jeff Passan's actual words here, what he put in the article, because according to ESPN, this is the perfect move the Red Sox should make. At the trade deadline this past season, the Red Sox believed they were close to landing Joe Ryan, an elite arm who has had his best year yet for the Twins in 2025. As long as Red Sox ownership keeps the financial clamps on chief baseball operator Craig Breslow, he'll need to get creative in improving a Red Sox team that's already quite good. Revisiting what he missed at the deadline is the simplest way to do so. And as much as the Twins say they want to win in 2026, they understand. Now is the time to strike, and dealing Boston another frontline starter to pair alongside Garrett Crochet is the way to do it. Trade for Minnesota right-hander Joe Ryan. You know what's really funny? Not really haha funny, but funny in general that really stood out to me in this article is how much, the ownership has really created this distrust amongst everybody, right? I mean, fans have been ragging on the owners of the Red Sox for a very long time now. I mean, a whole lot in the last 4 years. That's normally how fan bases are, but you're really starting to see the national media as of late, even last year as well, really sort of put the Red Sox to the side. These guys aren't going to spend, they're not going to do anything with the ownership that they currently have. It's incredible to me how much has been built up over these last 4 years with the Red Sox and their lack of spending. It really has nothing to do with this whole Joe Ryan thing. It's just something that immediately stands out to me. It's something that we're seeing a whole lot throughout the industry, right? We're not even really seeing the Red Sox predicted to sign any of these massive free agents because of this specific thing. So regardless here, the reasons Jeff Passan believes that the Red Sox perfect move is trading for Joe Ryan is pretty simple, right? Joe Ryan had a true ace-type season. Joe Ryan is younger-ish and fits this core pretty well. He won't cost a ton of money, just strictly prospects. And the Red Sox were damn close to landing this guy at the deadline, right? So those talks should be able to be picked up again to some degree. And I totally agree with all fronts here, Jeff. May I call you Jeff, Jeffrey? Ryan has all the potential in the world to be a number 2 starter, and those talks don't just disappear. The Red Sox know what the Twins like, and the Twins know how far the Red Sox are willing to go. The question becomes, is it still that easy? Right? Can the Red Sox just pick up where they left off and try and push this thing past the finish line? I mean, the Red Sox were essentially 2 feet from finishing this marathon before they absolutely collapsed. That's mostly because they started the marathon about 45 minutes after everybody else, but still, right? You were right there. Can you get back to what it was? Can those talks reignite, or have those talks fully disappeared? Because there is a real chance the Red Sox genuinely did miss their opportunity to trade for Joe Ryan. This week at the GM meetings, Twins GM Derek Falvey was pretty open about, hey, this might not be the top guy we're trying to move this offseason. On MLB Network, he said, quote, "Our focus is figuring out ways to add around our starting pitching rather than subtracting from it. We have to listen to everything that comes up. That's part of the job. But I feel good about having a guy like Joe Ryan on this club. We've also seen things like them being more likely to move Lopez than Ryan, or things like, unless they're blown away with an offer, they're predicted to hold on to Ryan." Now, to me, this could be a couple of things. One, one, and in my opinion, the most likely answer is this is sort of a positioning tactic by the Twins GM, right? At the deadline, you can't really beat around the bush a little bit, right? You're either a buyer or you're a seller or you're stuck somewhere in the middle. Those are the three options. There's no real like positioning yourself to potentially be a buyer, but you're actually going to be a seller. It's not really how that works. In the offseason, it's a little bit different, right? You're trying to get the best trade package possible. You're trying to pin teams against each other. You're trying to generate a larger market. And by saying, look, unless we're blown away by an offer, you're creating this sort of narrative that a baseball team is going to have to come in with their best and not sort of their lowest amount that you are going to be willing to take. So in my opinion, this could absolutely be a positioning tactic by the Twins GM. And I think ultimately that's exactly what it is. But the second option here is that this is reality. That the Twins are sitting here saying, look, the AL Central, it's not exactly the juggernaut Major League Baseball. The Tigers had their run, but they kind of fell apart at the end here. Cleveland Guardians were the team of destiny this season, but are they going to be able to repeat that next year? If we're a good team, not even a great team, a good team, there's a really legitimate chance here that we can compete for a division. And to be honest with you, the Twins, as much as they sold off this season, aren't really incredibly far away from doing that. They still have a great core in their starting rotation. They still have a decent lineup. You add a little bit to it, and all of a sudden, you've got yourself a team that could legitimately win the AL Central. So it's one of these two reasons as to why Derek Falvey is up here spewing that they're not going to trade Joe Ryan. And does that make it more difficult for the Boston Red Sox? Well, we have to start with what they were actually willing to offer the Twins at this year's deadline, because Jeff Passan understands more than anybody that the Red Sox were legitimately close to doing this. It was reported that the Red Sox actually offered multiple top 100 names, including a combination of Tolly, Garcia, and Arias. That's star power right there. In terms of prospects, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that for the Boston Red Sox specifically. The Red Sox are really trying to push their chips on the table. The Twins still said no to that. I think, in my opinion, one of the reasons for that is because the Twins didn't really have time to sit there and elaborate on what they actually want for the Red Sox. They were just getting the best offer and being like, oh, that might be too good to take. That might be too good not to take, and then ultimately didn't take it. Now, in my opinion, how this is going to get across the finish line is the Red Sox are going to have to dip into their major league talent, right? Again, the Twins are pretty close, and I wouldn't say one or two moves away from winning the division, but if they start to build themselves up in the next year or two, they could be competing for the division in the AL Central. They're going to want some major league talent. In my opinion, the way the Red Sox make this deal work is that they start to add some of that major league talent. I'm talking specifically in the outfield here, folks, right? A Durant, an Abreu, to pair with potentially a combination of Garcia and Tolly. But at that point, is it too much to ask for Joe Ryan, right? Are they overpaying too much for Joe Ryan? Does it become too risky for the Boston Red Sox? This is where, in my opinion, the idea of a perfect move falls apart a little bit. It's not in the actual player itself, it's in what it would cost to get him here. You want my honest opinion? I still say yes. This is the perfect move for the Boston Red Sox. And we've gone over Joe Ryan's statistics, specifically in 2025, no less than 50 times on this channel, so I'm not going to go over them again. But what I am going to say is I get the dude had a bad half this season, but he was also playing for a team that just flat out gave up on 2025. The talent he still has is enormous. You pair him with Garrett Crochet and smack both of them into a playoff race, I feel really good about the Red Sox chances here. Personally, I do think that if we are talking about the trade market, this is still absolutely the Red Sox number one choice here. There are other teams out there right now that are openly looking to acquire an outfielder for potentially starting pitching services. Specifically, the Reds and the Royals have been already listed as teams who are going to be willing to listen on their starting pitching for some outfielders. Now, both these teams have intriguing starting pitchers, so you could sit there and say, I wonder if they'd be willing to part with these guys, but I don't know that they have anyone that has the talent ceiling that Joe Ryan has. I mean, obviously Hunter Green, I think, is the exception there, but Derek Falvey's sitting here saying, I feel pretty good about having Joe Ryan. The Reds are sitting there, we are not trading Hunter Green, right? So there's a little bit of a difference in narrative over there. I honestly, genuinely don't know or don't think that Hunter Green is going to be available for the Red Sox for the taking this offseason. offseason. So if he's not available, in my opinion, Joe Ryan has the highest ceiling here. On top of that, I do think there's a little bit of an ego thing going on here with the Red Sox, right? Again, Breslow was 2 feet away from finishing this marathon. There has to be part of him that's like, can we just push this deal across, right? Can I make up for my shortcomings at the deadline this season and get this guy for an entire year? And I think that's also part of it as well. I hope it's not the biggest part of it, because sometimes when egos get in the way of things, especially with these front office guys, they end up overpaying and just simply the deal doesn't end up being worth it at the end of the day, just simply to get the guy that you wanted to get this entire time. So I hope it's not just egos, but I do think that has to be part of it a little bit, right? Again, these talks don't just totally die. Breslow has been sitting there for essentially, 3-4 months now, and he sat there and faced what he did at the deadline because of what he couldn't accomplish. And ultimately, I think where the Red Sox ended up this season was in large part due to what he couldn't accomplish at this year's deadline. So that has to be part of it, and I think that's going to play a role in whether or not the Red Sox pick this up a bit. There are a couple of things that worry me about Joe Ryan. One is that he has 2 years of control left, which is not a crazy long-term time. I understand a lot of people are going to say we don't even know if they're going to play baseball in 2027. It feels a bit like a doomsday type scenario here, right? The same thing was said coming into 22, and they still had a full MLB season, but still, that's not a long-term deal. And I think in order for the Red Sox to want to put an outfielder like a Duran or an Abreu or a Cedon Rafaela into this deal, they're going to have to be feeling pretty comfortable about the idea of extending Joe Ryan. And the second thing here is that I really hope the Red Sox aren't desperate enough to come in here and just blow the Twins away with an offer that just doesn't make sense anywhere else, right? No other team is going to be offering this because it just simply isn't worth Joe Ryan's services for 2 years. But there is one more thing that's preventing me from saying this would be the perfect offseason for the Red Sox. And that is that this quite simply can't be the only deal. I don't think Jeff Passan created this article saying that this is the only thing that teams are going to do this offseason, right? That this perfect move for every team is where every team's going to sit there and they're going to say, you know what, we're good. Thanks for coming out, guys. But we got the one dude we were looking for. We're gonna pass on everybody else, right? I think what he's saying here is that this would be sort of the prime rib type move, and then you get the mashed potatoes and the green beans and whatever else as the offseason goes on. But for the Red Sox to just get Joe Ryan, this would be sort of a half complete, sort of 50% done off season, right? Where yes, you got the starting pitcher, but you didn't do anything else to improve the roster. And I think coming into this offseason with Breslow openly saying we need a middle of the order bat, we need a top line starter, to only coming away with the top line starter would ultimately still be a failure of an offseason, especially if you end up losing Alex Bregman in this. But even if you bring Alex Bregman back, I still don't think this is a complete offseason. So there's also that layer as well. But ultimately, I do think this is the perfect move for the Red Sox. I can't deny the dude's talent. I can't deny how close the Red Sox came at the deadline. And I can't deny the previously established relationship here. I still think the Twins are going to be open to moving him at some point. And I do still think that the Twins are going to end up moving him this offseason, especially because I do think teams are going to start to put up legitimate trade packages here that line up with a blow him away type offer. And I think the Red Sox are in a position right now to be able to match or be better than any other offer put on the table. And I also think the Red Sox are in a position where they can kind of overpay for this guy a little bit and still maintain their ability to be one of the most competitive teams in the American League. I mean, the Red Sox weren't too far off this season. It was a good 6 or 7 wins, but it's not like it was 20 or 30 wins from being the best team in the AL. And if Joe Ryan can help you get there, Joe Ryan has to be the guy that you want to go get. And I firmly believe he can be that guy. So I sit here in full agreement with Jeff Passan, but also saying I don't want them to get incredibly crazy here with the package, and I don't want this to be the only move the Red Sox make this offseason. You combine a Joe Ryan with a Pete Alonso, and all of a sudden you got yourself a much different ball club, though. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think? What do you think about this Jeff Passan article? Do you agree? Do you think that this is the perfect move for the Red Sox? Do you think another move that the Red Sox could make would be even better? Let me know all your thoughts. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just helps it out a ton. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.